skyscraper with a slanted roof adorns the skyline of New York City. Citicorp Center is not only exceptional for its design, but because the two institutions responsible for its construction were a bank and a church. Together, they saw the possibility of doing something more than putting up another office building. On the street level, architects have created an extraordinary amount of space under the building. With huge pylons, they have put the skyscraper on stilts. This has made room for St. Peter's Church, whose purpose is to bring people together not only for religious, but for secular activities. A church noted for jazz performances. Also, in the center of the office building at ground level is a 7-story glass-enclosed atrium where the public can come in to sit down, eat, and relax. It's open all day and into the evening. In these areas, New Yorkers are discovering a new ambience, an environment to stir the spirit, to bring alive a sense of community in the heart of the city. Some common goals motivated the partnership between church and bank. Representing Citibank, Mr. Henry DeFord.
We were very concerned about the street level around the project and the environment that we would create. As you can see, the super columns that support the building are one of the things that led to an open environment around the building. And even the design of the church was carefully thought out so that it would meld into the street level environment that we did create.
The other half of the partnership, St. Peter's Church.
We're very happy to have you here at St. Peter's today, and if we come down this way...
Its pastor, Ralph Peterson.
The interior is the kind of space that has a great deal of vertical thrust, and it's a great sense of openness. For me, I can walk in and it almost takes your breath away. I find it spatially a very exciting experience. Space here with the great excitement of light and shadow. You can just take your seats here. Now, let me just give you a couple of words about the beginnings of this whole project. St. Peter's Church has been at this corner for 115 years, and Citibank had a building across the street for the last 20 years. Citibank needed a new space for an additional headquarters. St. Peter's wanted a new space for its church, and that's why we got together. We weren't there just simply to serve ourselves as a church. We wanted to create a great plaza for people. And we were very much committed to the city and wanted to create a people place. I think this center has sort of done a very wonderful thing. There are all sorts of places for people to be. There's plaza space, there's space for perching. I think we all like places that have a lot of secrecy where you can go off and meet and talk. And this is, I think, an extraordinarily interesting environment in which you can wander around, and there are all sorts of places, secret places for people to be with other people. It brings on Lexington Avenue and the neighborhood a whole block of quality experiences and events, and it really becomes sort of the center of the city. And there is a festival and celebration and community, and that's what I think it brings.
A festival and celebration. Sunday afternoon at St. Peter's Church. It's not perfected, but it's on the way. A robot designed to perform all manner of services for mankind, including chores like walking the dog. Not the only robot inventor. Mr. Anthony Reichheld is experimenting along very practical lines with a mechanical servant he calls Clay-2.
We have a little bit different lunch service here.
I've noticed that.
Yes,
Offer you
21st
some
century
liquid
style.
refreshments and nourishment.
Have a little drink
Thank you.
and something to eat. Clay-2, thank you very much. You may retract now. We have no further need of your services.
Very well, master.
Robots, come on forward. Come to me.
The heart of the robot, which allows it to respond to commands, is a small slip-in electronic unit that enables the robot to be programmed for all sorts of activity.
All right, robots, give me some calisthenics.
Clay-2 at school.
Okay, children. How much is 1 plus 1?
2.
Very good. How much is 2 plus 2?
4.
Robots can be effective in instruction.
8.
They can be programmed with a 250-word vocabulary to speak in any language. Some of Clay-2's robot relatives deliver mail and act as security guards. And Clay-2 may eventually be able to carry out household chores. Right now, there are a few kinks in his performance. Programmed for play, Clay-2 is at his best. A few hours with a group of active youngsters can be pretty exhausting for a robot with only a limited amount of power in his batteries. So it's time for a recharge, and for the children, a reluctant farewell. It's not every day that a robot shows up at school, but who knows what the future will bring.
Come on, let's go home.
Perhaps there'll be lots of robots someday. Maybe these children will look back and say, we knew one of the first. His name was Clay-2, and he was fun. World Trade Center. From these towers can be seen the most impressive view of New York City. Reason enough to build a superb restaurant at the very top. At Windows on the World, excellence is demanded in every detail, from the decor to the desserts. A good proving ground for young professionals like Rena Smith, whose boss is master pastry chef Albert Kuhlman.
I first began working with Albert in developing and designing the pastries for Windows on the World. Since then, I have opened a pastry shop that is part of the same company, and now I manage and run that and do pastries and specialty cakes for this pastry shop.
Rena began her career as a student of Albert Kuhlman when he was a professor at the Culinary Institute of America. At this exceptional school, chefs from Europe and the United States helped to train people for the food service industry. In the course of 2 years, a student is taught a range of skills from haute cuisine to short order cooking in an authentic diner. The Institute is recognized as one of the largest and best equipped cooking schools in the world. Tuition fees are high, but government grants and private scholarships help defray costs for those who can't afford to pay. Many of the graduates will be managers and administrators in the food industry, but all 1,400 students get practical training in the kitchen as well as classroom theory. Courses cover the business end of cooking as well. In the classroom, students learn bookkeeping, supervision skills, banquet organization, and institutional food systems. Restaurant corporations also need employees that know nutrition and the science of food preparation.
Not only does food have to be very good, you have to think about how many calories are involved, how much cholesterol, how chemical reactions from one food to another food will create something totally different.
A little bit of ground pepper.
In this class, called the International Kitchen, master chefs from around the world work as guest instructors, but the full-time faculty is equally prestigious. Chef Joseph Weisenberg was on the American team that won the World Culinary Competition in Basel, Switzerland.
And the fat is going to render out and run down into the pan.
The International Kitchen is a very quick world trip around food. Your classes are divided up into several groups so that you can do several countries and nationalities in one day, so everybody can taste what everybody else has prepared. You can start out with the Middle East and end up with Mexican, but the idea is to introduce you to new spices and new techniques that other countries, use because of what they have, what resources they have in their areas.
You can smell the garlic. Okay? Can you smell the garlic? Yeah.
So you embed the rice.
Every form of Far Eastern cooking is taught at the Institute, from Japanese tempura to Chinese dim sum.
They stress the importance of utilizing leftovers, that you do not throw anything away. You find another use for it, which in turn brings your food costs down.
Each type of cuisine requires its own special serving techniques, and students learn service as part of cooking.
No matter what spectrum of the restaurant business that you go into, I think that it's essential that you know a little bit about how the entire restaurant is run, from the front of the house dining room work to the back of the house working on the line in the kitchen. When you've chosen restaurants as your profession, you have to be able to accept rigorous hours, no set schedule, pressures of producing food by a certain time during service. And at the school, they try to get you into this kind of rhythm and routine by having classes start at 4 o'clock in the morning for breakfast, because if you're a baker, this is the time you will have to get up to prepare the rolls and the Danish for your morning.
The Culinary Institute has earned a reputation for vigorous training in the restaurant world. So it is not surprising that almost every student has a job waiting at graduation. The invention of the aqualung gave man a radically new means of exploring his underwater world. To the adventurer, it excited interest in the search for sunken treasure. But to scientists, it offered the opportunity for another kind of search, for evidence of ancient cultures as revealed by thousands of shipwrecks that lie on the ocean floor, a storehouse of knowledge about the past. The pioneers in this new field of research have formed an organization to carry out their work, the Institute of Nautical Archaeology. Head of the Institute is Dr. George Bass of Texas A&M University.
Now, in addition to the places you know about where we're working here in America, we are over in Italy in two sites, one a harbor place and another a shipwreck off the coast of Lipari.
With headquarters back in the United States, expeditions are at work on 4 continents.
And then here in Cyprus and in Kyrenia, we have the classical Greek ship restoration. One of our latest projects is the 17th century ship in Mombasa, Kenya, and one of our students has even been over twice to dive on a Chinese junk off the coast of South Korea. The invention of the aqualung in the early 1940s for the first time made possible delicate work in fragile ships' hulls, because divers can be virtually weightless and can hover above very fragmentary bits of wood, sweeping the sand gently away from each find. Now that we find it easier and easier to reach the sunken remains, we are realizing the vast potential for learning about the past. Virtually everything that man has ever made, be it a huge temple column to a tiny piece of jewelry, has been carried at one time or another by ships. And since ships do sink to the bottom of the sea and have been sinking for at least 10,000 years, we must have a tremendous museum resting on the seabed waiting to be excavated. In making those reconstructions of the Byzantine ship,
Dr. Bass, founder of the Institute for Nautical Archaeology, divides his time between field work and teaching.
From the galley or the cookhouse of the ship, and the pitchers and the lamps and the other things that were used on board, they all came from this small area here. We can see that in the same area we have the plates, the large water jar here that was probably... Usually, all of the materials that we uncover during excavation belong to the country in whose waters we are working. We are not after the objects, but simply after the knowledge that we can gain from studying the objects. We bring back our drawings, our photographs, and our notes so that we can study the material for publication. We have been able to make drawings showing what the interior of the galley of the 7th century ship looked like in the past. From studying only 10% of the hull of a 7th century ship, we were able to reconstruct the exact shape and construction of the ship that had sunk about the year AD 625.
Ships are complex structures built to carry heavy cargoes through rough seas over great distances. Their construction represents the best in craftsmanship, materials, and innovation of which a society was capable. The design of an ancient ship is therefore an important field of study, providing insight into the technology of the era it represents.
I'm very excited about our students. I think that they're going to be so much better trained than those of us who pioneered the field of nautical archaeology in the early 1960s, because few of us, even though we had learned to dive, really knew that much about ancient ship construction. These students now will know exactly what to look for in ancient ships' hulls, and we're delighted also that we're now receiving applications from foreign countries, so that we hope that we can act almost as missionaries by training people who will then go back to their own lands and take our techniques and knowledge and methods in order to upgrade the field of nautical archaeology throughout the world.
painstaking study unlocks some of the mysteries surrounding ancient ships. Nautical archaeology, only 15 years old, but already taking its place alongside land archaeology, has an important future in enlarging our knowledge of man's past. At Haverford College in Pennsylvania, one woman, Tamara Brooks, has given music a unique place in education.
A small liberal arts institution such as Haverford affords the opportunity to study with rigor music, and as well study those things which I really believe music is about. And for a student not to have the opportunity to study poetry and philosophy and science and fine arts, the things, the stuff about which music is, I think is a grave lack in many musicians' training.
Tamara Brooks is a conductor of international recognition. She has led orchestras in Cyprus, Istanbul, and Europe, as well as the United States. With this background, she could have taught in a large music conservatory, but she chose this small school for gifted liberal arts students.
Take it from 4 before 30. Don't play the downbeat. Most of the students with whom I work are not music majors. As a matter of fact, it's the vast majority. And the quality of work and the amount of discipline and excitement required to do that quality of work is astonishing for a place in which those people are not planning and going ahead with music. I think about their role in the world outside the institution once they leave. Having had such a good experience, having done professional quality performance while they're in school, I think there'll be a different listening audience. I think they'll have a different attitude about what it takes to be a musician than most of their colleagues that go to institutions which don't afford so many people the opportunity to be involved in music.
In only 2 years at Haverford, Tamara Brooks has generated such enthusiasm that 400 of the 2,000 students and professors are now involved in at least one of her musical groups and study sessions. In combination with its sister school, Bryn Mawr College, Haverford now has a chorale of 160, a 45-member chamber singing group, a symphony, and a 40-piece chamber orchestra. This commitment to excellence has merited Haverford special performances with the Los Angeles and Pittsburgh symphonies.
From that section into the first repeat of the first section now.
Here we are back at Break Forth into Joy again. Rondo. Down, up, no weight, down again. Up, no weight. I don't really believe that anyone teaches. I believe that we do our professional work in full view of people who have like curiosities, and we enable them to see what we do, question what we do, and we challenge them to not follow in our footsteps, but find paths of their own to explore. So I think the moment at which we're the best teachers is the moment at which our students no longer need us, no longer look to us for answers, but see us as people with whom they can discuss the questions. I find that a healthy balance in my life between truly professional musicians and those marvelous students who still have the capacity to experience the growth process in a piece of music, to be excited at the end of a rehearsal, to see something change and grow and understand the miracle of that, not just the somehow professional finesse of a performance. that process is extremely important to me. And therefore, working with gifted and bright and dedicated young people is something I don't think in my musical life that I could do without.
Campus concerts are extremely popular with the student body. The chorus also performs for local organizations, providing a cultural link to the community. Tamara augments their repertoire of classics by introducing contemporary works, like Robert Starr's Ariel.
I believe that it's our duty as living, breathing musicians to seek out the Mozarts and the Beethovens of our time, to perform them, to have their music live now, instead of perhaps waiting for another generation or two to discover them in retrospect.